everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host for the evening, Karen Bukes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we begin this week's show, I'd like to talk about next week's show. Next week, I have Tim Grandy and Doug O'Rourke on. We'll be talking about the charter review suggestions they are bringing to town meeting. Also, pretty soon, the Lions will be holding their yearly Oktoberfest. I will get back to you with the date. And as everyone knows, the Lions donate every penny to the community. That is, every single penny comes back to the community. And their Oktoberfest will be held, of course, in October, right here in Plymouth. Oh, it's September this year? Oh, I'm sorry. It's September. Sorry, David. 17th and 18th. Okay. Silly me. I hear Oktoberfest and I think it's in October. Okay. And I've gone. Here's one of our very special underwriters, David and Kevin Gallerani, owners of Cape Auto and Cape Auto Body Service. Locations are Samoset and Sandwich Streets right here in Plymouth. Great service, great people. Tonight's guest is so very kind to come on because he is screaming busy. And he is a very busy guy, as you know, especially since Plymouth is getting ready to build a brand new high school. Please welcome someone my husband Ken and I respect very much, as does the community, Dr. Gary Maestas.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here and anxious to talk about the developments of Plymouth South High School.
Yes, I would like to start this way first, Gary. What brought you to Plymouth?
Well, you know, I was years ago. I mean, this is my 17th year in Plymouth.
Right.
Different capacities. When I was a principal in a neighboring school district, and people used to always talk about Plymouth.
Yeah.
The quality of education, the quality of programming, and there was a job that opened up, and I applied, and I landed up getting the job, and ever since then, I've never looked back. It's just been a whirlwind experience for me, and I'm grateful to still be here.
We're grateful to have you, Gary. What is it, 27 years?
This is my 27th year in education, and this is my 17th here in the district.
In Plymouth.
Yeah.
Well, we're so fortunate to have you, Gary. Well, as everyone knows, Plymouth is getting a new high school. And we're going to talk about that, among other things. And you did bring in some photos to see the progress. And but first tell us, what was the process of getting Plymouth South here up and built?
Well, it was somewhat complicated because, as I think everyone realized, it'd be really difficult to build a building without getting some kind of state support. So the Massachusetts School Building Authority has a very comprehensive process that we have to enroll in. And once we get enrolled, we have to actually go through a process so that our building gets ranked. And the ranking really goes to schools that are high priority and schools that are not a huge priority. So we had to submit a statement of interest, which really identifies the interest of the community to actually renovate or replace Plymouth South High School.
The need.
The need.
Yeah.
And we went through that process. And so that process really lets the state know that we, the community, are interested in having a building to be analyzed, and that is comprehensive. We made it to the level where the state showed a high level of interest to come in and analyze Plymouth South. So Plymouth South High School was evaluated extensively, and the state had the determination that Plymouth South High School was a candidate for a building. And this was going back about 2 years ago.
So that took that process, that little bit, which was a lot, took 2 years.
It took about 2 years to get to that point, and then from that point we had to decide, and the state really helps guide this process. Are we going to renovate the current Plymouth South High School, or are we going to build new? And that is a complete analysis of the building and what the needs are of the building. So we went through a feasibility study. The feasibility study really analyzed what's wrong with it and how can we fix it.
So they made the case.
The architects that came in, and these are independent evaluations, so there's not, we really can't drive the process because it needs to be almost a blind process.
Right.
So the process, while we went through the process, the evaluators gave the recommendation that we're better off building from scratch than really repairing, because Plymouth South High School is in need of a great deal of repair.
And just before we go any further, you do have a comprehensive plan to maintain all schools.
Yes, about 10 years ago, we went through a very extensive study of all our buildings. So every building in the school department, and I believe as of last year, the town has the same report for every building.
Yes.
So we actually have identified what areas of repair are and timelines. So when we build our budget every year, we fold those repair items into the budget.
Good.
So that when we get to a certain point where we need a roof, we put it in the budget, we identify what the costs are based on the evaluation of that project.
And that was never done before, and that's been done under your great staff support, tutelage there to get those things done and recognize that those things must be maintained.
Well, you know what? The community, I think they have a valid point when they take a look at Plymouth South High School. And you take a look at it and say, well, the building it's not even 30 years old.
Gary, it was never right.
And the problem that we have is, the MSBA has changed. They will not let a building be constructed the way South was. They just will not let it happen.
Thank goodness.
But on the other side, when we have buildings that, we do get criticized at times when people see a building and they say, well, it needs to be painted. Well, you know what? We need to put that in the budget. We need to put it in there so that we can maintain our buildings at a high level. And I believe that our facilities director, Arthur Montron, has done a fantastic job.
He's wonderful.
He's done a fantastic job of keeping us up to date on what our needs are.
Yeah. Funny story. We were in one of the schools, I forget which school, it could have been Plymouth South Elementary. And there was a little scuff mark on the wall. He said, I got to take care of that right away. He says, if I leave that there, and he just saw it as we were walking by. He goes, because that will multiply.
Well, Karen, it's pride.
Yeah.
I walked through North High today, walked through PCIS, and our buildings are just in great,
pristine.
Spotless.
Yeah.
And we're starting off, I think there's a great deal of pride in how the buildings look, great deal of pride. Curb appeal means a lot. I mean, when people have a home, when you drive by, it should look like it's someplace you want to be. Absolutely.
Inviting, yeah.
It's a lot of work to do that to 14 buildings, but it's.
But it's, and I know it'll be done. How many children are in North and how many will be in South?
That's a really good question, Karen. It's been an uncomfortable process to look at the balancing of both high schools.
Yes.
Because you have to understand when North High was when we closed the Old North, we had right under 1,000 students.
Right.
Okay, and we redistricted. So
I remember
we
that.
redistricted to move the boundaries so students from the southern part of town from a certain boundary would shift to north.
Yep.
That created a lot of strife for families.
Yeah.
We're at the North High School is in its 5th year.
Oh, that's hard to believe.
It's hard to believe.
Oh, where did those 5 years go?
So when you take a look at it, the redistricting has worked. So basically, we have 2 high schools that are balanced.
Excellent.
Okay, so both high schools are around 1,200. North High School is a little bit over 1,200. But what the redistricting opportunity helped us to do in the district is if you go to South Middle School, you go to South High. If you go to
Right.
PCIS, you go to North.
Well, that makes sense.
And the district lines before the last redistricting opportunity had kids that if they went to one middle school, if they went to PCIS, they might go to South. They went to South Middle, they might go to North. And
yes.
it was very confusing.
Disjointed.
Absolutely. So, to your question about the population balancing, South
Yeah.
High used to be 1,600.
I know.
And we've dropped that down significantly.
I think when my son graduated there, it was
Big.
Huge.
Big.
And it takes hours and hours. I went to Plymouth North in the Memorial Hall. Yikes.
Yep, the graduations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of graduation, I've seen it on PAC TV, and it's always done very well. A lot of emotion behind it. A lot of bright children come up and speak. What goes into putting on a great graduation? Because I know your whole heart. You can just tell by the way you speak at those graduations what you're thinking.
Well, it's a moment in time where our administration, our staff from our schools want to make it a special opportunity to send off our kids to go out and do good things in the world. And I think the day is really centered around two focus points. Have a great experience for the families, because it's a culminating event where families have endured 12 years, 13 years of education.
God bless them.
And they're there to celebrate,
Yeah.
it's with some kids have an easy time, some kids don't.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. This day is about you getting to this pinnacle, and that's what we want them to enjoy. And second of all, I know it's really difficult sometimes when you're sitting at a graduation and people are giving speeches, but I think what we try to do is share a little bit of what we've been through and our insight, and hopefully our kids that are graduating will just listen a little bit to we were where you were one day.
It'll connect.
And hopefully you'll realize that it wasn't easy, and things won't be all roses when you graduate, but today's the first day.
It's both a sad and happy day, and depending on who you are.
Yes.
And a lot of emotions. And I don't think graduation hits the student until months later, or maybe a couple of years later.
When students see their picture, they see a snapshot of
Who they were
when they crossed that stage, or a moment in time. Kids will always come back and say, like just 2 days ago, I had a parent come up to me and said, I just need you to know that my daughter heard your message.
Oh, you just gave me chills.
And you know what? It connected with her.
That's wonderful.
And she just said it, this is 2 months, 3 months ago.
That's wonderful.
So, I hope.
Live for that.
My life wasn't easy.
I know.
And all I can do is I hope that kids will realize that, if a guy like me can try to influence people, you can too, and hopefully people will see that, and our kids will see that no matter what background you have, you can make it.
You can make it, and your message is very positive, Gary, and you could have so gone the other way.
Absolutely.
But your inner strength brought you through, and I'm sure it wasn't easy. I don't think your entire life has been a piece of cake,
No.
but it's been wonderful.
Yep.
Your journey has been wonderful.
Fortunate to have a mom that taught me compassion, and taught me forgiveness, and taught me how to care for people, no matter what they bring to the table. And I'm very fortunate that I had a family that cared a lot for me, even though I was somewhat of a challenge.
Oh, aren't we all? Gary, so, all right, back to Plymouth South. What's the target date?
The target date is, and we are on that pace to meet target, is September 2017, and that will be the completion date of the first phase of the project.
Yeah.
So we have two phases. The first phase is constructing the new South High School,
Yeah.
and the new South High School will be on the athletic fields that are in between both
Right.
South Middle and South High.
Right.
So I think in the old colony 2 weeks ago there was a pretty desolate looking picture of the fields at
Yeah.
South.
But, is that going to change?
It's going to change.
Yes, and you brought in some photos. I wonder if they're ready to put up. We'll see a couple of them now, maybe 3, and you can explain what they are, Gary. You want
Exterior, please.
exteriors first, and it honestly, it takes a lot to build a school.
Well, one of the things that we were able to do with South that we could not do with North is that we had a great deal of input with the design, because Plymouth North High School is a model school, and we could have input to change some of the features at North.
I remember that, yeah.
But not a lot.
No.
This building is really built based on what the needs are of the building, of the school and the population, the curriculum. So
And the
it's
community, yeah.
Absolutely. So it's very, very specific to Plymouth.
Excellent.
Okay, so the program development really took a lot of effort from the architect, designers that came in, very, very specific expertise that came into looking at what a modern school looks like, what a comprehensive high school looks like, in mindset for the future. Not for the programs we offer today, but what we need for the future of education. Absolutely.
This is going to be more like a campus, Gary?
It will be. It will have a college campus feel to it.
Yeah.
I think people feel that when they go to North. They feel that college-ish type of
They do.
campus.
I know that.
South will have that same feel. Keep in mind that both North and South had North and South architects are the same. So the company that designed the initial model school that North has, the same architectural firm designed South.
Well, they specialize. It's like there are architects for churches. There are architects for schools.
Yes.
This is what they specialize in.
They specialize in really understanding the needs of a community educationally, and putting it on paper, and making it aesthetically pleasing, which can be difficult because, we have North High School. Everybody wants, before we had this initial design for the new South, people say, well, why can't we just take North and pop it down at South? And that's really hard because we would have to change the North design dramatically to meet the comprehensive high school model, because we need more shops.
You're vocational.
It's absolutely. So we couldn't do that because the state says if you change the model school by 20%, it's no longer a model. We would change it a lot more than 20%.
I can't wait to see this school.
Yeah.
Okay, may we? Oh, okay.
So this is a view from the front of the school. Like this is the view that if you were driving into the school, coming right in the driveway, and what you see here is the parking lot. This would be a student and visitor parking. You see in right next to the building a bus. That would be the bus drop-off, and that the part of the building that's right behind the bus is the main entry to the building. So this is the perspective that you will see somewhat driving through the parking lot. And this is a different angle. The wall, half wall that you see up front is kind of a delineation welcoming people to the school.
I like that.
And then right behind it is the main entrance to the school.
I like the way it looks.
And right behind the main entrance there, the white facade, That would be the main, right behind that is where the main stairway would go up into the different floors of the building. So it's a 3-story building, 3 floors.
Okay.
And that main entryway is really wide. It's made so that we can handle a large amount of traffic, foot traffic through the building. And at the beginning of the building, right when you walk in, you're going to have to the right, you'll have your administration. To the left, you'll have the culinary program.
Nice.
You'll have a credit union teller, ATM right next to the culinary program. You'll have a marketing program right next to that. But very open, very warm, welcoming entry to the building.
I love it.
That's what the front looks like.
I love it. May we have the next?
Yeah, this is another perspective, and you can actually see right here the drop-off lanes.
Yeah.
You would see that we have a wide entry so that we can handle both buses and traffic, vehicle traffic, car traffic,
right.
so that we can get buses in and we can create a much safer environment that we have for dropping kids off.
I like the separation. I like what you did there.
It's going to be a nice, effective, and this is the opposite side of that, so you can actually see the different perspective. Now, if you take a look at the building here, we see the 3 windows on the left.
Yeah.
That is the beginning of the integration of the comprehensive vocational with the sciences. They're all on the left side of the building.
Nice.
Okay. If you look to the distance, way on the other end of the building, that's where the gym would be and the Performing Arts Center. So that's from one end of the building to the other. That's kind of the angle that you'll get on the left side. Keep in mind that would be on the closest to the access road to South Middle.
Right.
That would be that left-hand side.
Okay.
Okay.
How many square feet do you know?
274,000-ish.
Oh, wow.
And that is this is the back of, actually this is the front of the school with more detail. Mm-hmm. You can see that there's a lot more detail. You can see the shading aspects, and that shading is very purposeful. Our architects do a number of studies to understand at different times of the day, based on where the building is placed, where can they put shading aspects to actually help save energy. So there are a lot of features.
Into that.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you, this building has some features in it that are really going to help us to have a. It will be a LEED silver.
It's
a smart building, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
This is the corridor that will take you to the cafeteria. To the right, you'll see the entry to the cafeteria. Which is really going to be a place for students to gather. It'll have glass to the hallway, and it'll always have glass to a courtyard that will be in the glass on the opposite side of this picture is a view to South Middle School.
Oh, okay.
So from that glass wall, you'll see a administrator, student, teacher parking lot, and beyond that, you'll see Plymouth South Middle School.
Okay.
And there'll be a school store inside of there. This is the main stairway.
Oh, nice.
And I think one of the things that we have realized with the current Plymouth South High School is we are fixing the traffic flow problems from floor to floor by having an adequate stair. And this is a feature of the building. This is right when you walk through the main aspect of the building entry, you'll see this beautiful stairway that goes from one floor to the other. On the second floor, you'll see off a set of windows. That's the library. So you can actually see the library, and it overlooks the parking lot, but it also has plenty of windows that gives natural light from the exterior and into the hallways through the library.
Nice. Does the school have an elevator?
The school will have 2 elevators in 2 different parts of the building. One by the Performing Arts Center and the gym. Yep. And then one on the opposite side by the science and vocational areas. So if you're on one side of the building or another, you can have access.
Excellent.
Okay, so this is a view of the library from the second floor. We talked about it a little bit before, but this is a space that you can actually study, go after school, hang out. There's some study carrels on the exterior of the library, but it's really made almost, it does have a college feel to it.
It looks it. It
Yeah.
looks like it's beautiful.
And this is another view from the front. This is that drive-up perspective.
Well, see, it has I like that wall because it has a grand look to it, but yet you're able to see over it. It's not a huge thing, but it does separate what you're coming into, and I like the way you separate it, how people go in and out,
Yep.
drop off, and that's important.
Well, when parents want to get their kids to school in the morning and kids want to get dropped off, that confusion sometimes
is.
It can be chaotic, and the
Yeah.
design here is really to separate bus traffic from drop-off traffic, so buses can come into the campus and leave without obstruction,
Right.
but yet parents can come drop off and they can have an open path to get out of the campus. So
That's important.
yeah, it's a neat feature, and we think it's going to make a difference.
Now, I hear that Plymouth North is thriving.
Plymouth North is just it's a marvelous campus.
And the students themselves.
The students are just doing wonderful things there. We are introducing a new biomedical program at Plymouth North and South this year.
No,
and we had 120 students sign up for that program.
Wow.
And I think that kids that are entering our school system are able to involve themselves and partake in some absolutely wonderful programming. And I tell you, the building at North, people say, and the kids told me this, when we were closing the old North, and one of our outgoing seniors told me, it's not the building, it's the people.
It is the people.
We have great people that have a wonderful facility to be able to facilitate education.
Well, both your teachers and the students are
Yep.
excited to be there. We're in school, and teachers know how to, I've noticed Plymouth teachers know how to motivate their students, and the students have a buy-in. They feel it's part of their home.
Absolutely, and Karen, I think the thing that really, let's talk. You brought up North, and let's really kind of clarify the investment that kids have, and the interest kids have, and the ownership that kids have with Plymouth North. I think kids realize that when they come to school there, they're there to learn. They're there to get an education. They're there to advance themselves. But yet on the other side, they take great pride and ownership of the facility. When Plymouth North first opened, we had a kid wrote something on a wall in the building. And about 15 minutes after it happened, a group of kids went to the principal's office to identify that somebody wrote on the wall, and we wanted to let the administration know that we know who it is, and we would like to help clean it up.
Oh, wow.
So when you see that happening in a school, you know that the kids, they feel honored to be in that space. And when you mix that with great instruction,
Yeah.
it's a special place to be.
It is a special place to be. I'm very proud of the Plymouth schools and the department and our school committee board.
Absolutely.
Tell you, all of them, and Dennis Begley is a fabulous chair.
I was trying to count the other day how many school committee meetings I've been to in my time, and it's a lot.
I bet.
And the content the content of school committee meetings over the years has really shifted from taking care of administrative tasks to really looking at how we change the outcomes of education. So I think when you take a look at how we've evolved as a unit and really evolving as an educational system, I think the school committee has a lot of involvement with that. It can be difficult because it's
the nature of it.
It's trying to move a ship it can be difficult.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
takes very talented people to sit there. Now, a little bit about Introduction to Box, B-O-K-S,
Yeah.
Gary.
Yeah.
I got this in an email. It's coming up.
Well, Karen, I hope that you have an opportunity to attend, and I would invite others that may be interested in this.
Yeah.
I'm very involved, and I never ever thought that I would be involved at this level dealing with how do we create healthy environments for kids.
Right.
But I think we've all realized that we have some significant issues that are in our communities, and I speak communities because it's not Plymouth, it's happening around the country.
Right.
With drugs, with the epidemic of heroin in communities. And one of the things that I thought was imperative that we do is we look at how do we create students that are resilient so that when they're faced with situations, they can make good decisions. So I've become involved with Reebok and their box program, and the box program is centered around a curriculum that we're going to introduce into all of our elementaries and into our middle schools.
Good.
Where we do an early morning 3-day-a-week workout program for kids.
Excellent.
So what we want to do is, through this Reebok program, we've entered into a 1-year pilot agreement with Reebok, with Harvard Medical School, and with Beth Israel. Right. And we're going to really study through a pilot program that does early morning activity. Does it allow students to perform better?
Yes.
Does it help them with things that they're dealing with? Mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Yes.
I mean, we have a lot of students that go to the nurse's office every day. We have students that don't eat well. We have students that have a variety of things that they worry about every day. If we introduce a program like this and we get our kids involved early in the morning, what are the benefits of it? So we're going to study that for a year.
That's wonderful.
But the goal is after this initial study, the year after, we're going to offer it to
throughout
to as many kids as we can get in. The study is really centered around an intervention group and a control group. So the intervention group will be part of this study.
Sure.
And parents are going to have to sign up and say, I want my child to be part of this.
Absolutely.
And the hard part is we're going to have to. We can't take everybody the first year. The second year we will.
Yes.
What is really fascinating with it is Harvard Medical School is also going to be working with 20 kids from each school at the high school level that want to be part of the research team.
Oh, how exciting.
So these high school students are going to be able to work hand in hand with researchers from Harvard to learn about validation of a study, the research techniques.
How inspirational.
So, I think it's going to be a fascinating program. We've also put together is we're going to do this for the year, and when we get to June, get to the close of the program, we're doing a correlation between steps and miles, and I'm going to do another bike ride.
No.
And what I'm going to do is kids can actually do we'll do a correlation to the miles that I ride on the bike and the steps that they take. So that they can do what I'm doing as a ride, they can do as a walk.
As steps.
And steps.
Oh, are you going to get Fitbits?
We actually got a donation just this week for 11 Fitbits. I would like to get Fitbits for everyone that takes part. We're working on it. Yeah. If we can't do it, we're going to do step counters.
Okay.
And those are very inexpensive, but it also teaches kids more skill on logging what they do every day.
Right.
One of the things that we had to be very careful in the study is that we really can't put confounding articles in the study because a Fitbit itself might compel a kid to do more activity.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, so we have to almost eliminate that as one of the factors.
Okay.
The curriculum and the activity and the the frequency of if kids are going to the nurses. This is a difficult statistic, Karen. We have 14 school buildings. We have over 65,000, close to 70,000 nurse visits a year in our schools.
Oh boy.
Okay, so
That's a lot.
It's a lot. So what not only are we trying to raise resilient kids, we want to give kids opportunities, but we also have to think about how can we help them and curb some of those tendencies that are causing them to want to go to the nurse.
Is it stress related, a lot of
Variety, Karen.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. It's all the way from administration of medication to stress,
Yeah.
To phobia,
Yeah.
to
Well, I'm glad
anxiousness.
I'm glad you recognize that. I'm glad the schools recognize that. That's a big part of a.
Well, you know what? A lot of people say, what can we do? Like, when we talk about the issues with the community, Healthy Plymouth, we talk about, today I was at a meeting at the courthouse with Judge Minahan, and we're talking about what do we do about what we're dealing with this drug epidemic, and everybody says, well, prevention, education, we need to do more, we need to do this, and you know what? I want kids to be invested in what they're doing. I want them to see the purpose. I want them to understand that if they have more activity, there's benefit to it. So how do we re-engage that? How do we, this is self-selecting. Kids have to want to do it. Parents have to want to be able to do that.
Want to.
And, one of the things that we're going to do and is, everybody's saying, what do we do about kids that can't get there, that need to be there? Well, we're going to look at getting transportation to get these kids there in the morning. So how do we make it so that it's accessible and that we don't, we make it open to kids.
Yeah, as easy as possible.
Absolutely.
To get them on the path of success.
Absolutely.
Oh, I can't believe what you've done since you've been superintendent, and your staff, who are remarkable. It is, what child would not want to go to the Plymouth schools?
Well, you know what, Monday we have our opening for teachers that come to the district, and we're very, very fortunate to have people that have dedicated their lives to helping educate our students. And we in education have a amazing responsibility. It's hard. The challenges that we face every day are very, very difficult. And you know what? The beauty that we have in education is we can always get better. Every year we can get better. We can start all over again.
Absolutely.
What we've made mistakes. Every system does. But our goal is how do we learn from them?
Oh, sure. Through mistakes, positive things happen.
Absolutely.
You just don't make that same mistake
Absolutely.
again.
Absolutely.
But Gary, to hear that the schools are going to have a biochemical program is phenomenal. That's an up and coming.
It is.
Vocation.
We are, our science coordinator, Allison Reardon, was very interested a few years ago to take a look at emerging fields. And
space.
This whole idea of what can we do to enhance programming that we have in the district. So she presented it last November to the school committee, and it was a budgetary item to look at how we introduce this new curriculum to our program. The school committee supported it, and we actually sent teachers to get trained in this new program. So this next year we will offer it for the first time, and we're really excited to give students a different pathway to looking at inspiring a new area of study.
How many schools offer this, Gary? All this curriculum opportunity that the Plymouth schools offer, other communities must be looking at us.
Well, Karen, you asked the question, why came to Plymouth?
Yeah.
And I think opportunities like this, I'm very grateful to the community of Plymouth for supporting the school system. Because I
Absolutely.
tell you, we would not be able to do this
Yeah.
if we didn't have a community that trusts us to make decisions for the future of the children of Plymouth.
Absolutely, that is the future, and it's only good for a person like me who has put my children through the Plymouth school system already to help other kids come up through it.
Absolutely.
That's the way it goes. That's just the way it is, and that's the way it should be. Now, you are never stagnant, Gary. You are a visionary. I've always said that. So now the schools get a solar program to defray costs because you respect the residents of Plymouth and you want to defray costs. How is that going? I understand that it's phenomenal.
Yeah, we are, as of about April of 2015, where our district is powered 100% by solar. So every bit of energy that is used to power our schools is derived from solar, and the solar fields that we get that power from, we've arranged for significant agreements with those different fields. So we have a large array of solar panels that are really providing the power. The benefit for Plymouth is by introducing this model, we are able to save about, from the traditional method to this new method, we are able to save through the school budget about $850,000 a year, which is something that is in place, and it'll benefit for the next 20 years. So, well, 18 years.
That's not chicken feed.
No, and a lot of people say to me, well, if we're saving $850,000, why does the budget keep going up? And the answer I tell them all the time is, if we didn't do this, I will tell you that we still have to pay the electric bill to keep our buildings open, and we'd have to raise and appropriate that extra $850.
Yeah.
Well, if the town says we can't saddle that as far as a budget, then we'd start losing staff. And that was our impetus: is how do we demonstrate to the community that our budgets do go up, but yet we want to demonstrate to you that we want to be responsible about how we build a budget and how we go about trying to save money.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of work. The school committee, for 2.5 years, 3 years, I introduced this about 3 years ago. And it took a year just in agreements to get it to work. And then one at a time, one project at a time. And as of April, we're 100%.
I'll tell you, I wish the town had started earlier, because there's just so many credits the state gives, and it's a no-brainer.
We're in a really unique position that when we started going after these agreements to get solar power, our energy consumption was at a level. We started reducing our consumption based on habit and traits that we have on using power. So we actually started lowering our demand, and we got to a point where we started getting to a point where we would generate more power than we need. So we actually turned over all of that excess capacity for generation to the town. So the town now is probably about 20%, maybe 25, 30% solar, which is, you can talk to Lynn Barrett, but she will probably quote some dollar figures as to the amount of dollars the town is saving because of the model that we've been able to, kind of share with the town.
Well, Kenny's on the planning board, and he insists on low energy lighting. Those new lights that they put up at the waterfront, and they're starting to place them in different spots. It's minimal. The cost is minimal, but and the light is more.
Well, let me explain. 5 years ago, we installed with NSTAR LED lighting.
LED, that's what it is.
In all of our parking lots across the district.
Oh, you did, yeah.
And just the change from a high intensity discharge bulb, which is what we had, to LED saved, by doing that in the district, saved $50,000 a year.
Hello.
Just by going to LED.
I know.
And LED, the longevity is tremendous.
Yes.
There are people that would dispute that, but the evidence is really behind.
No, they do. They
there's
last.
great evidence.
Yeah.
And also, they're electronically controllable. So we have sensors so that I can get on the computer, and I can go to a website, and you can control lighting right from your desktop.
Yes, isn't it amazing?
It's amazing.
I have a question,
Sure.
and I don't even know if you know yet, but just throw it out there.
Sure.
You know, Town Hall is moving to the old courthouse.
Yes.
Do you think the school department's going to move to Lincoln Street?
Yeah, we've already had that discussion.
Yeah.
And the direction is for the school department to move to Town Hall, which will be on Lincoln. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the problem that we have is I don't know how many people that aren't involved in the school system even know where central office is.
Oh, you're in the boonies.
Central office is not central.
No. Yeah, it's not the boonies, but I mean the planes almost land on your building.
Yep.
So.
Well, we have helicopter traffic, we have jet traffic, we have when the vintage planes come in.
Yeah.
We know I love it.
But isn't Carver Line right there, like a block up?
The Carver line's about 100 yards from my door.
Yeah.
And it's out of so the plan, Karen, to your point.
Yes.
The plan is that once the new town hall is constructed, and this is a conversation we've had with the Board of Selectmen, with the town manager, with the school committee, and the school committee really has endorsed it. Is we would look at vacating South Meadow Road, which is where central office is now.
You could sell it.
And that's the intent.
Yes.
Is that it would be sold.
That's money.
And then what we would do is then put some money into painting, cleaning, and repairing carpets or whatever at Town Hall.
How about some nice shrubbery and some nice, foliage out in the front there? Oh, I want to chop down trees and dig up everything.
Well, Karen,
I go there and I weed. Can you believe it?
When Town Hall is the school department, I welcome you to come over and we can do it on the weekend. But I for us, and I don't. These are my thoughts.
Yeah.
For us, Lincoln Street is a complete disaster when you drive down.
Yes.
Especially at entry and dismissal.
Right.
One of the things that we've talked about just in our conversations is how do we improve that traffic flow on Lincoln Street. Our demand for the school department with constant traffic, people visiting central office is not like it is for town business.
Right.
So that traffic impact will drop.
One way. It has to be one way.
And you know what? I would suggest, and I know that we need to talk to the school committee about this and then propose it to the town.
Sure.
But I would suggest that become a one-way street
Absolutely.
out. Because we could then have some level of flow.
Yes.
And I really feel bad for, there's a couple of 3 businesses on Lincoln Street that
dentist.
Yeah, they're impacted heavily by entry and dismissal. Summertime, it's great.
Right.
But in the 9 months that we have school is really tough.
I know, but we manage.
Yes, we do.
I've never not gotten a parking space for Town Hall. It doesn't matter what time I go there. It's, sometimes there's more. But when the buses come and, people want it's more difficult. And you'll figure it out.
Yeah, we will.
Maybe even in front of the building, you have a way where cars can, a little semicircle.
We've actually worked with the town traffic engineer to look at a lot of different patterns, and I think one of the things that we're going to have to deal with is Stevens Field, because Stevens Field is an exit for the buses.
Right.
So that would be an egress for us, which is going to be with the new design.
Okay.
It's going to be closed. So that's going to
Yes.
create somewhat of a situation
For a
for
while,
us.
for a little while.
So we're going to have to, we'll work through it. And,
Yes.
and you know, I can imagine next week, people, new families to Nathaniel Morton, new people coming to Town Hall, or people that, you know, forget that it's school hours, are going to be faced with the situation where, you know, they're going to be asking you, hold up, well, you know, a bus pulls in or whatever. I mean, that's uncomfortable, especially when you want to get your kid and leave, or you have town business. But, you know, we are very grateful that a lot of people are very patient and allow us to get
I'm
by.
excited you're coming back.
Yeah.
And where you
been a long time.
Where you always should have been.
Yep.
But that's okay. You're coming back, and I think by the time you finish with it, you can have the VOCA classes come in, and carpentry and whatnot, Gary. I mean, you got it easy that way.
Well, the only problem we have is that we work on a school schedule, so it's 2 hours at a time. You know?
I know. I'm very happy, and if there's anything I can do to even weed, I
thank you.
love weeding. So
I'm calling you up.
yeah, you can call me up. You should see me at home. What are the big agenda items coming up for this school year?
This year, the couple of really big things. I think one is in October we're going to release our latest version of our strategic plan.
Oh, good.
And it's the 2020 plan, so it'll take us from 2015 to 2020.
I'll have to
So
listen for that.
you know what, we'll get you a copy after the school committee approves it, which
Yeah.
will be coming up in October.
I'll tell you, Gary, they do yeoman's work. They really do.
They do. And you know what? It's they a lot of hours, a lot of meetings, and a lot of.
It's not. They just don't show up to a meeting, and you see them on television. It's like the selectmen. They just don't show up, and they're in front of you. It's a 24/7.
A lot of work goes into it.
A lot of work.
So we have the strategic plan. You know, like I said, we have on September 24th. We have the groundbreaking.
The groundbreaking,
Over
September
at,
24th.
and that's at 4:30.
4:30.
And it's an open invitation.
Okay.
If people are around on September 24th at 4:30 at South High,
Yeah.
love to have them.
Great.
Come and see. There'll be some people from the state there. There'll be some of our local state reps and senator will be there.
Yeah.
You know, another big thing is, I'm not sure how many people remember last May, we had the Wahlberg Foundation donated money for West Elementary to build 2 new basketball courts.
Yes.
We're going to do a ribbon cutting for that. And that'll be wonderful, and I think it'll be significant for the West community to really see a revived part of that school.
Do you know, I believe he moved to Manomet. He has a beautiful home there on the cliffs right there by Randy Parker.
Yeah.
And for him to contribute, and I'm sure it's not going to be the first time.
No, you know what? When it was you know, brought to the attention of the school committee, and we were talking about it the night that the announcement was made, I said, you know, it'd be nice if we can get all the schools to have a facility like that. But, you know, we're very grateful that we have some tremendous supporters of the schools, and to know that somebody would want to put some funding out there to make a great situation for kids. And it's almost like, you know, we're always talking about, well, what can we do for kids? Well, you know what? Somebody put their money on the table and said, you know what, do something great, and it happened.
You know, anybody can do that too, Gary. They
Yep.
can donate to the schools, give a grant or whatever.
Absolutely.
You know, the foundation, the Plymouth Education Foundation does that also.
Absolutely.
And it's a wonderful endeavor. But I'm very proud of our Plymouth schools, our students, our teachers. The staff, I've dealt with them on many occasions for various reasons, and we're proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I have a lot of work to do. We have we're just scratching the surface of what we need to do to help raise and support families here in Plymouth through education.
Yes.
And I'm just grateful that we have some wonderful people in our community that are really supporting us, and we're going to continue to get better at what we do.
Yes, and you're not going anywhere. You're retiring out of here at 75. You cannot There is no way I want you to go anywhere. Not that you said that. I'm just throwing that out. And, between Peter Holden here at Beth Israel and you really get along, which reminds me, where is your bike ride going this time, Gary?
Well, you know what? We are going to discover that. It's you
got to map it out.
The last one was so it was difficult because we went through every major city from DC to Plymouth, and from Philadelphia to New York City to Newark, New Jersey to we went through the big ones, and going through New York was an experience and a half. Actually, going through New York City was easier than going through Philadelphia, but we have to map it out and see how we can make it flow for us, because that's a lot of miles to do. And,
take the shore road, Gary. Take the shore road, maybe down to North Carolina or up to Vermont, and
it's got to be cooler. I mean, going through, we went through New Jersey, and it was 97, 98. And it was a heat wave that early in the season, and I didn't mind it because we were riding, and you were riding. You felt the wind, but on the people that were supporting us, it was really hot for everybody.
I remember hearing about that. That was brutal for some people. But if you map it out, be cooler. Take the shore road. Take plenty of food.
We will.
Grapes and fruit and whatnot, drinks and healthy drinks.
Absolutely.
And you'll be fine. Plenty of photos.
We will do that.
Send them back immediately.
We will. Well, technology helps that.
Yeah.
And we hope to have these kiddos in Plymouth really engaged in what we're trying to do, and I really want the youth of Plymouth to really embrace themselves. And say, I want to do good things with myself.
Well, you've certainly done that, and this is why they respect you so much. I can see it on their faces. I hear it when they talk about their schools and their superintendent, and every town doesn't have that. We are so fortunate to have it.
Well, thank you for saying that.
I will have you back, and you're going to have a drone see the progress of the building of the school.
Absolutely.
And I will have you back, and we'll show that footage, and that'll be late spring, early summer.
Excellent.
And you'll be back for that.
Thank you.
But I want to remind everybody, thank you, Gary, so much for coming. Next week, I'll be here, and Tim Grandy and Doug O'Rourke will be on talking about the suggestions the charter is making for town meeting. That'll be great. I want you to tune in. Get phone calls. Call in. See you in 7. That was fantastic.